What's going on, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and MCU, and today we have a deleted alternate post-credit scene that would have been in Black Widow if they had decided to go this route. And depending on your views, you could actually think that this would have been a better post-credit scene for Natasha. I actually think that they could have thrown this in with the other post-credit scene with Mason and not had to choose between the two of them. They could have done this one first and the one with Mason and the Quinjet after. But I'll let you decide for yourself. I'll show some clips and the stills so it doesn't get copyrighted, but I'll show it nonetheless. Then of course after I'll break it down and we'll talk about what exactly this scene would have meant if it was kept in the movie. And we also do have some rumors flying around about Scarlett Johansson and Disney. There have been some rumors going around talking about how Scarlett won't ever be in another MCU project again. I'll break that down after this. And of course, if you love Marvel and want to stay up to date on everything that's happening, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. Okay, so it's about a minute long, and we start off by seeing a motorcycle come down a street in a neighborhood. We then see some kids run outside of a house, and we see the motorcycle ride even more down into the neighborhood. As we see the kids in the neighborhood play a little bit more, we can actually see that they're acting and playing like they're the Avengers. We see two little girls run by. One of them seems to have some type of wings on her back. She could be acting like she's Falcon. The girl behind her has black bands on her arms, acting like she's Natasha. Then a boy runs by that has the same black bands on as well, acting like he is Natasha. We then see a kid with a bow, obviously pretending like he's Hawkeye. And we also see a kid jumping on a trampoline with a small Captain America shield. Kind of like a one for toddlers that you would just go to Target and pick up. So as these kids are playing Avengers, Natasha comes around the corner, stops her bike, gets off, and takes her helmet off. She looks up, and the house that she grew up in as a child for those few years with her so-called family, with Yelena Belova, Melina Vostokov, and Alexei Shostakov, aka the Red Guardian, and we can see that it's a rather emotional scene for her. As she is staring at the house, reminiscing of her past, clearly very emotional, some of the kids that were playing Avengers walk by her. The kid with the Captain America shield runs right by her. However, the little girl who was playing like she was Black Widow recognizes her. She walks up slowly behind her, checking to see if it really is her. Natasha smiles at her. Then the little girl, realizing that it's her, holds up her arm with her pretend Black Widow bracelet and gives her a little Black Widow bite. Natasha holds up her arm and pretends to do the same back to her, and that's the scene. Now keep in mind, this is not an alternate post-credit scene, this is an alternate ending, which I assume will be released when the movie actually comes out on DVD and Blu-ray, or wherever you want to buy it. I'm sure it's going to come out with the film. But this would have replaced the scene with Mason, where she rides up on her bike and she gets the Quinjet. And that scene really has more connections to Infinity War, because we know that after she gets in the Quinjet, she goes and breaks some of her fellow heroes out of the raft. So I can definitely see why they went with that scene instead of this scene. It connects a lot more to the events that were about to happen in Infinity War. However, although in the MCU's timeline, Infinity War had not taken place yet, in real life, it had. And I think a lot of people realize what Natasha would go on to do. She would go on to fight in Infinity War, and then Avengers Endgame, and then ultimately die. And since we ourselves, and a good majority of the people know that, I think this alternate ending is a little bit more emotional. And I think it kind of ties you into Natasha just a little bit more. You feel for her one last time. And I think it really just depends on what you would want to feel at the end of the movie. Would you want to feel a more emotional connection to Natasha? A kind of happy, emotional scene right here where we see that she's inspired little girls and little boys as a hero and not as a Russian assassin? Or would you have wanted what we actually got? A setup for what happens in Avengers Endgame for what we actually knew was going to happen. And I actually think that they probably could have done both. They could have shown this scene and then shown the other scene with Mason. Now clearly the movie was super long and they needed to cut some parts, but I feel like if you took a little bit out of this scene and then took a little bit from the scene with Mason and the Quinjet, you probably could have put them both together. Because think about this, and this is actually why I prefer this scene over the Quinjet scene. This would have been the last time that we saw Black Widow. The last time ever seeing Natasha on screen. If you take away all of the different multiversal aspects of it, the variant aspects of it, yes, perhaps we could see a variant of her one day, or maybe not, depending on the recent reports, which I'll talk about at the end. But if you put all of that aside, this would be the last time that we actually get to see Natasha in the MCU on screen. And for that sole reason is why I actually prefer this deleted alternate ending. Why? Because it actually shows Natasha in a very good light. Because the Black Widow movie is all about her. This is her film. It's about her tackling her past. It's about her coming face to face with Dreykov again, about her coming face to face with Antonia, Dreykov's daughter, who they had been teasing us since the very first Avengers film. The whole story is that she was an assassin before, she killed a lot of people, but ultimately she turned good and did what she had to do to go down the right path. And in the movie, they actually kind of talk about this, Yelena and Natasha. Natasha says, "I was trying to do something good, be more than just a trained killer." And Yelena says, "You're fooling yourself. We are still both trained killers. I'm not the killer that little girls call their hero." This is a direct reference to that line that Yelena drops. That exact conversation where Natasha is clearly stating that she wants to be more than what she had been. She wants to be a hero. And what this scene does is actually solidify the fact that she is indeed a hero. And she's a hero not only to us, but to the actual people inside the MCU. She made a real impact. Little girls and little boys are pretending to be her because they look up to her. And that's why I personally really like this scene better than the one that we got. Not that I didn't really like it, I just would have preferred this one. I think it means a lot more to the actual character because we already knew that she was going to go break people out of the raft and go start the events that happened right before Infinity War and then jump into Infinity War and Endgame. But let me know which one you would prefer in the comments down below. And like I mentioned, there has been some news about the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit against Disney. According to some reports online, Disney has banned Scarlett Johansson cameos in any further MCU movies. Not like that would ultimately matter because, again, we know she's dead, but if this is true, this kind of eliminates any possibility for her popping up as a different variant of herself down the road. Now, a lot of people have asked me about this, and I have looked for sources online, and some of these news articles don't quote any sources. So I will throw a disclaimer out there that this might not be true. At least Disney hasn't publicly stated it yet. However, I would not be surprised if it is true, because this whole lawsuit definitely has to be a strain on the relationship between Scarlett Johansson and Disney. And it seems like people are truly divided on it. From what we've heard, Kevin Feige is pretty mad about the whole entire thing. Disney, of course, isn't happy either, and of course, Scarlett isn't happy. Again, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, but hopefully they figure something out soon and everything gets resolved, because it would be pretty cool to see Scarlett Johansson revise her role as Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, of course, down the road playing a variant of herself in Secret Wars, perhaps. I personally think we're going to see a lot of different variants down the road, and hers is one that I would really like to see. I think, of course, this is all going to lead to Secret Wars eventually, maybe 7, 8, 9 years down the road, where we're just going to be seeing multiple different versions of multiple different characters, and I think Black Widow is one that a lot of people would really love to see, so hopefully things get worked out. But in the meantime, let me know what you think about this alternate ending for Black Widow. Would you have preferred this, or do you like the one that we got and that one was fine? Be sure to tell me in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you stay up to date on all things happening in the MCU. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and for live updates, you can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.